Okay, so good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It is 6:02, we will call this meeting to order. Please note that we are recording this meeting. So for the record, I'm Michelle Hepner. I am the Legislative Intergovernmental and Public Affairs Officer for Solano County, and I will chair your meeting again this evening. So we're going to start off by doing roll call. So we'll start with Tiffany Jones.
Here.
Alex Mateus. Cassandra.
Here.
Chris Engel.
Here.
Stephanie Cobb.
Present.
Ina Diaz. Dylan Jackson.
Here.
Mike Nail.
Here.
Deborah Russo.
Here.
Sean Smith.
Here.
Steve Greenberg. And Jim McCulley. And Rosie Enriquez. Okay. All right, so I will go the agenda for comments from the public. So if there are any members of the public that are wishing to speak, please state your name and please unmute yourself. And yeah, just state your name and let us know what your concern is. Okay, seeing none. So we'll move on. So I'm going to the discussion part of the agenda. I would, before I launch into the actual agenda, I thought I'll give you guys a quick update on what I've been up to at least. So I did talk to our redistricting partners. It looks like they are hoping to get our redistrictor software up by July 20. Is that still correct, Kimmy? That's very exciting. And then also, as you know, we were planning to move to in-person meetings, starting with the Saturday meetings. I did ask you all to provide some locations. And a lot of locations are still closed. A lot of places are still don't have their criteria in place to actually conduct open meetings. So what we ended up doing was we ended up looking towards our county libraries. And so I was able to secure 3 county libraries to conduct in-person meetings. So the first one is for District 1. So the Vallejo John F. Kennedy Library will be available for us. And then for District 2, I was able to get the Cordelia Library. And for District 3, so the County Event Center is the building that's adjacent to the county building that's downtown in Fairfield. Which is in District 3. We will be using that building for District 3's meeting. And then District 4, I was able to get the Vacaville Town Square Library, which is right in downtown Vacaville. I wasn't able to get any of the other places that were listed. And then District 5, I still don't have a confirmation, but I did check in with the District 5 supervisor, and he's interested in hosting that meeting at the Elmira Firehouse, which he feels that is a little bit closer to Rio Vista, and it's also close enough. Well, it's close enough for Rio Vista, and it's very close to Vacaville. So we're hoping to get that confirmed in the next day or so. And as soon as I have that information, we'll put out a press release. We'll start making sure the information gets out. I will send out a huge email again, letting people know that the locations have changed. So, so that's all I have on the on updates from my side. So, does anyone have any questions, comments? Okay.
So yeah, this is Stephanie Cobb.
Sure.
Okay, so I know you sent out the email, and I know my group, our lead, Chris, had sent out information I sent back to him and stuff like that. Had you talked to the leads, or you just went ahead? Because the Cordelia, I have some concern with Cordelia. And I know with District 2, we encompass a lot of different areas. I do know it's just, I'm just going with where the bulk of the people is, or where the main voters are. And I think it'd be more in Benicia than in Fairfield.
So,
And I do know Benicia Library has a meeting room.
So correct. So I didn't just go ahead. I did call the Benicia library, and they told me that they could not accommodate me. Initially, they said they would get back to me because they're starting to talk about criteria for reopening, because they still have to, consider the COVID according to OSHA's rules. And so they haven't been able to put that in place. They anticipate only opening up their meeting rooms in September. So I did try there. I've tried several schools. So I've done a lot of phoning around trying to get options to meet. So that's why I ended up just defaulting back to our libraries, because I know the county we have jurisdiction over our libraries, and we can ask our library director to open. And truth be told, our library rooms are not open yet, but they are opening it for us. Any more questions?
Michelle, you also, I think you indicated at some point that even though the meetings, for the in-person Saturday meetings that you have scheduled, that regardless of what district is being represented, the community members are allowed to come to those meetings to offer public comment and or input as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is true whether they're in person or virtual. Any public meeting that we have, any community member can attend to what's convenient or most convenient for them.
Okay, I just think that's important that we make sure that we echo that. So, for example, Stephanie, like you said, Benicia is a very interesting district because it does encompass some of the southern portion of Vallejo. So, we can give people 2 dates, like, okay, come to the one on the 31st of July. You can give your input there, or you can come to the one scheduled at the Cordelia Library, to offer input as well. So I think we should just make sure that we echo that to our constituents.
Yeah, so I'm planning to put out, like I said, a press release. I will certainly put that in the press release to let people know whatever's can accommodate them. I actually had a question for Kimmy, who's our redistricting consultant. Is there a way with Zoom that we can use the Zoom in conjunction with an in-person meeting, or is that too complicated?
You can do a hybrid meeting that way. It is a little bit challenging to make sure the camera is pointing in the right place and someone is monitoring all of the Zoom features. But it is possible if you have a camera and a space to project and all of those things.
Okay. So when I'm actually going to go out to those libraries on Monday just to see what their space looks like, and what equipment they have for us. And so I'm trying to get an inventory of what equipment I need to take to each meeting. While I'm out there, I'll look at whether there's internet and whether we can actually do something like that, because that might be an option for people. If we can, even if we at least host one of those meetings as a hybrid, so that anyone who absolutely couldn't make it could still come to that, could still dial into a hybrid meeting. And I think we may also encounter people who may say, well, they're still not comfortable going out to to in-person meetings. So I'd like to look at having at least one of those meetings as a hybrid option. Okay, so any more questions on that? I spent a lot of time on phone calls. Okay, so we'll move on to just the general discussion about the outreach meetings. Is there anything specific you guys wanted to discuss? This is your meeting. This is your ability to connect with each other and talk about, things we can improve or how we can help you. So if you let me know, that'll be great. I'm not sure if anyone has their hand up to speak. I can see one person. Okay, someone's trying to come in the lobby. Okay, so any items for discussion? If not, we can move on to the next item, which is I was hoping your leads would provide a little bit of a status report on your subcommittee meeting and what you're leaning towards with your report to the board.
Before we go to that, I saw Tiffany's hand up for a little bit, and she put it
I'm
down
sorry?
when you moved on. I saw Tiffany's hand up for a little bit before you moved on.
Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason I'm
No,
not seeing.
I've been in your thing, so it's hard. So I get it.
Yeah. So Tiffany, did you want to say something?
I just had one quick comment. I've been reading a lot of the emails that you send us as far as people when they email you guys for public comment and stuff. Just wanting to make sure that the community knows to use that format that's on the site. I think it's the way that you printed it out this last time was very beneficial for me to be able to kind of look at it as well. So just to let the public know, we are reading the comments. We want some more input, and please make sure that they're, putting it in that format and or sending an email to you, and that they're getting to us. So I've been reading through them.
Okay, good. Yeah. Those are very typical comments. A lot of it sometimes is confusion. So I am trying to encourage people to come to the meetings, because I think once they've heard some of the presentation and what's actually going on, I think it'll be helpful for them. Also learning about communities of interest. I know there was one person who said, "Where did you even find this?" I ended up calling this guy and saying to him, I explained the whole process to him, and he was very happy after that. But it just part of it was not understanding the process. So, but thank you, Tiffany. That's a good point. So yeah, if you guys also get related questions, please see us on the website, because when I do get inquiries like that, I do try and copy you all on those on those responses. Okay, so moving on. Status report. So Sean, do you want to start with that?
Sure. Let me pull up my notes here. Just a kind of a quick thing going back to the community meetings is I've attended, I think, most of them, at least partially, and to echo Michelle's comment that there is a little bit of confusion, and I think that it's there has been. I mean, I know I've kind of reiterated usually toward the end, but kind of the importance that we need the input so that we can actually write the report with some content and substance. And I think the example of the dog park, I think, is it's a good narrow example, but I think that we kind of have to think of kind of the medium and large size communities of interest too, because I think sometimes it's almost a little abstract for people to think, and some of the input that they've submitted shows that maybe they don't have a full understanding of what a community interest is, and it just sounds like sort of a kind of jargon in a sense. But in practicality, it's kind of like maybe using the current map just as an example, whether it's District 4, all of Dixon is in District 4, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And, trying to create a little bit of a discussion on some of those type of issues, because while the dog park is a good narrow one, I think sometimes to me, it seems like it might not resonate the same with everybody. And it kind of comes off a little bit academic, at some to some extent. So I think trying to just come up with different examples, and when we're in these community meetings, just sort of trying to be, fairly neutral, but to give them maybe a couple different examples and try to prompt a little bit of discussion. I think hopefully, I mean, that's the best that I can think of doing, is to try to get the relatively few people that are there to provide some input. But it is a lot of information for them at one time. And so I know Michelle's been reiterating that, sometimes it takes a little time to digest what a community of interest is, and hopefully they'll come back and provide some substantive feedback on the communities of interest. And I guess we still have some time, but it's just, I guess only time will tell of how much is submitted. So I guess that was kind of my take on the community portion of it. As far as the district lead meeting, kind of a quick recap I had that I noted, and I'm sure the other leads can jump in with anything that I may have missed or not provide as much explanation on. But we talked about how this is kind of the first independent redistricting committee, so we do have some flexibility, and the process is really up to us on what we want to do. And so when it comes to, we of course want to gather the communities of interest.
Jim,
Yes,
can you mute yourself?
I think I've muted myself.
Okay, I'll mute you. Okay, go ahead, Sean.
Sure. So we talked about this being the first independent redistricting committee, and so we have some flexibility. The process, of course, we want to get as much community input as possible, but in the end, we're going to have to report to the board, and so we want to make sure that we take literally, to kind of take the lead on some of this. And so as far as the board report, let's see, we have a lot of flexibility, and let's see here. We talked a little bit about trying to use, graphics, like infographics or diagrams, and kind of visualize some of the data, because we really, we've had limited data so far, whether it be, kind of, I think Michelle gave us the county population, the 441,000, which I believe, was that the 2019 data, Michelle?
Correct.
Okay, so with the kind of that preliminary data for the county, and then as far as, kind of continuing to think of the communities of interest and maybe trying to combine those by theme and maybe show by color. Of a couple examples, I think, were like homeowners. That was one that I asked if we could get data on, and I think that might be part of what they can bring to the next meeting that we have. So just trying to make sense of all this. I mean, we don't have a lot of data, and we're getting, some information from the community, but we really are going to have to, it seems like if we don't get a lot more input, then we're going to have to probably lift a little more than we maybe had expected. That's kind of my take on that. I'm sure some others might have more information. And then the last thing I want to mention is that I think we're planning on having the next lead meeting on the 20th, I believe. And I thought that I sent it out. Did everybody get that? Because I didn't get any, I don't think I got any responses on the email and I wasn't sure if I just didn't get notified or if I just didn't send it to everybody. The leads, I should say.
Yeah, I thought it was the 21st, but it's the 20th.
I think we have a community meeting on the 21st, but if we did it, I would be free to do it before that, or I guess depending on what, I don't know if it's during District 5, so we probably don't want to overlap with them as if anyone's planning on attending. But yeah, I apologize if I got the date wrong. I had the 20th written down 5:30, but we can definitely work with the team to make sure that we can get as many people as possible.
Sean, I just looked at my calendar. You did send it out for the 21st, so you might want to just resend it for the 20th.
Okay, will do. Yeah, I can make the 21st work.
The 20th.
So you said it is sent out for the 20th?
It's sent out for the 21st.
21st, okay. And is everybody good with the 20 leads? 20th at 5:30?
This is DeLon Jackson, yes.
Yep, that works.
How about you, Jim? You're muted.
This is Chris. It'll work for me.
It'll work for me too.
Okay, I'm not sure. Were you able to hear Jim?
No, he's on mute. I wasn't sure if did you mute him? Did you override him, Michelle?
I did mute him, but I can't unmute him for some reason.
Jim, just give us a thumbs up or something. That'd be good.
I think, is he saying he can't make it?
I assume so. I didn't see a thumbs up.
I think he can't hear us.
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
All right, Jim, I'm not sure what I did to you there, but can you do a thumbs up for yes and or thumbs down for no? Thumbs up, perfect. There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, so yeah, that's all I had. And I'll make sure I send the invite with the correct information for the 5:30 on the 21st.
Okay.
Michelle,
Yes.
can I ask a question? So Sean, you had mentioned that you had asked for data on homeowners.
Yeah, I think when we talked about the communities of interest, there were a whole kind of a litany of different, sort of demographic type information, and I think homeowners and I think there may have been a few other ones, but homeowners was one that I knew specifically that I asked for, and I think there may have been one or two others that came up in that discussion, but I'd have to look at my notes and see if I can find that.
Okay, so typically homeowners and renters come in the same data set.
Sure.
So is that
yeah.
what you're looking for, is kind of how they're spread out around the county?
I think that was one of them. Yeah, that kind of
Okay.
homeowners versus renters, like maybe a percentage or something. I don't know what it's. I'm sure there's different ways to present it, but I think if there was some meaningful, maybe a percentage, if it's, I don't know if it's 60, 70%, what would it be meaningful, but some level of displaying the difference between homeowners and renters.
We can map it, if that makes sense, so that you can see, and then we should be able to do a table, but it would have to be grouped by the existing district lines. If that's helpful. I mean, it'll show up on the map, but if you need a percentage, I don't know, do you want a percentage for the overall county or just for each district? Or, I mean, just give it some thought. You can let Michelle know.
Yeah, I don't know if the county would be helpful because we're trying to split them up. So I think it would probably be, I guess, whatever the smallest block that is reasonable.
Okay, so did any of the other leads want to chime in on the meeting that you had?
I think Sean said it all, especially what we was talking about. But I would like to just say something. I think at the last community meeting we had, and I expressed this, is that when we look at the districts, and I still believe this, is that we're going to really affect the community of interest on the outskirts, on the border lines. That's the ones who's going to really be affected by this, not the ones who are deep inside the districts. So I think that when we look at numbers, we also have to look at the outskirts of those numbers. Good example is like Sassoon in our district. I mean, that's an area where it's on that borderline between, I think it's, I forgot, Brown's district. So those are the things that you have to look at. That's what I look at it. So if we do get those numbers, we definitely need those numbers on those borderlines.
Yeah, it's a good point because I think one of the things that we talked about is if you're on the far corner, there's not a whole lot that's probably going to happen. And realistically, if you're in I know the southeast. I mean, I guess it could change, but I think Delon's right. I think that there's certain places that are probably much more likely to be possibly changed versus others.
So I think the most important thing we need to be looking at now is what are those communities of interest that are going to impact whether those lines get changed or not. It may be that there's no issue with communities of interest and lines don't get changed at all, because as you've seen with the population, the districts are still well within balance. So, I think our job here as the advisory committee is to get that info or the feedback on the communities of interest. And, you guys can also submit communities of interest. It's not just just because you're serving on the advisory committee doesn't mean you cannot. So I would suggest if you're seeing specific communities of interest that you think may impact those lines, then certainly submit that. Or if you know of communities that should be considering this, your districts better than probably all of us do. So if there are communities out there that you think should be really focusing on this, please reach out to them and let them know that there's this process and they have this opportunity to provide this input. The way I look at this right now is the maps almost don't matter at this point until we get the census data. We have to figure out what are the things that we're going to have to take into consideration, and communities of interest is one of them. So I think if we can get this information together and be able to present that to the board, then when we get to the point of starting to draw the lines, we'll have those mapped out. Because I think redistricting partners, Kimmy, you guys actually take those communities of interest and you map them, right?
We can if they're mappable. I mean, not all of the feedback you've gotten has been something we can put on maps, but if it's mappable, we will, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that helps anyone.
I found my notes where I was mentioning, or I listed from the presentation what the communities of interest are, and now I remember. So I guess kind of rural versus urban, I guess, was another one. I don't know if there's a suburban option, but I think that would probably be helpful, especially given kind of the diversity of our county, and some of our areas are very, very, very rural, and other ones are, much more urban city.
Okay. Any other input? Okay. Well, you could also use this meeting if you have any additional items. Oh, Jim, you want to say something? Are you able to unmute yourself, Jim? You broke it, Jim. You broke it. Do you want to try going out the meeting and coming back in? He keeps talking. Okay. 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 Anyone else with any, do you have any questions, any concerns, anything I can help with? Okay, seeing none. So your next meeting is scheduled for August 5th at the same time. So hopefully by then we will have had our first Saturday meeting, and hopefully we can see what the in-person meetings are going to look like. I'm going to do my best to try and get the word out about the changes in location and so forth. So as soon as I have it all finalized, I will be putting that information out. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking to you again on the 5th. All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.